For me, execution eats strategy for breakfast. It's not about one great leader. One size fits all, absolutely wrong advice. Saying, listen, I can't work in this stifled fashion anymore, and listen, just let me be. One point of time, we were ready to sell the company. We were in dire straits. Hi, I'm Deep Kalra. My day job is founder and chairman of MakeMyTrip. And the rest of the time, I'm having fun chasing a lot of my passions in sustainability space, in the education space, and very grateful for everything.
Deep, good morning and welcome to Qunba. Deep, how does a leader turn people to believe in his or her cause?
I think the first and most important thing is that you've got to genuinely believe in it yourself. So I think it's authenticity. The second one really is transparency. So the way you talk about what you believe in and how you rally your troops and how you sell this idea to people, I think you have to be completely open, honest, transparent. And the third, I think, is honesty, being candid, which is, I actually believe, revealing your vulnerabilities. So I think there are leaders, at least that's what's worked for me, to be honest and say, this is what I know, and it could be 80% of where we are going, and the rest 20% we'll figure, and that's why I need you along the way. And so you are actually saying, in a sense, that I'm vulnerable. I don't know this part of it, but I think that's the human quality, and that's what other people, especially people who join you in your journey early days, will become your comrades, I think should get attracted to. Because that's the kind of people, at least I always wanted. I didn't want people to just come along and follow my orders for two reasons: not my style of leadership, and secondly, I didn't have all the answers. So I needed people to actually help me refine thought and build a better vision.
As someone who's actually done this and lived this, what's the most important character attribute in taking an idea from a paper to a multi-billion-dollar company?
I think it's one. I think it's resilience. I just feel that resilience is the most underrated virtue or quality of an entrepreneur. A lot of people have vision, a lot of people can dream, and just to withstand the storms which come, and we've seen many, I've seen many in my journey, I think it's resilience. So many great companies never saw the light of day because someone gave up too early. And I think that's the key thing. And if there was a second, I'd actually say execution. As boring as it sounds, I think it's day in, day out execution. Executing, doing the right thing. For me, execution eats strategy for breakfast.
Deep, what would be three of the most defining problems around people that you think Indian entrepreneurs need to solve for in the coming decade?
I guess younger people especially, have fairly short attention span. Even managers, leaders, they join, and they also probably looking for instant success and moving very quickly. I don't know how that gets solved. You have to build the kind of culture where they belong. And so I think that, because it's very distressing as a leader, as a CEO, to hire really good people and to see them go in, a couple of years, even 4 years. For me, I think the first year is about you getting to know the company getting to know you. You really start firing on all cylinders after a year. Give or take 3 months. Some people start firing early, some late. And then, if you're going to quit in another couple of years, you've actually not given that much. Net add to the company is not that much. It's terrible for you too, for your own career planning and CV, and it's not great for the company. So I think people have to think in longer time spans. Ideally, I think at least 10 years. In our time, and when I passed out, let's say, of business school, I did make a couple of changes, and then you find your calling, and that's what you do. And I've seen that with a lot of my colleagues, some in their first job, 32 years. But most people have made a few changes. Then when you find your calling, you really say, okay, I'm in for the long haul. I'm not sure that quality exists today.
Do you think the Indian founder ecosystem is teaching the world or exporting to the world something on leadership, Deep?
Perhaps we are without realizing it. And I think it's leadership with empathy. I think it's our core values. And my favorite example of this is what Indra Nooyi did to retain her erstwhile peer, and then who was going to become her number two when she was nominated as CEO of PepsiCo, and how she managed to convince the person to stay, and just how far she went on that. And it was all counter management, gospel, what you learn. It came from the heart. And that's what finally helped her manage to retain him, who was actually just ready to quit, because as very often happens at that level and in American companies, you either move up or you move out. And there were two people in running for the job, and he didn't get it. So I think it's that kind, and I've heard so much about it. I have a lot of colleagues here who work for Pepsi about that kind of leadership style. So I don't think we're consciously doing it, but we should. And maybe it's happening in Silicon Valley, maybe it's happening in Seattle, where we have just so many Indians in top companies, on Wall Street, etc. But I don't know if we're consciously doing it. And probably, Sundar and Satya and everyone else is doing it in their own way. And we read a lot about it. So it's probably happening, and that's the right way. The best ideas spread through, osmosis. They're not going to spread because we have this Indian management playbook. Of course, through Qunba, we might change all of that. But otherwise, they're going to spread because they are just, you find, wow, this is working. You connect the dots and you say, hey, hang on, guess what? These guys are either Indians, or they grew up in India, or they have Indian lineage, and there's something about how they built these great companies or taken them forward. So hopefully.
Deep, is somebody who's watched the tech startup space evolve over the last 2 decades, how do you think founders and leadership has changed? And what are some of the changes that have happened for the better?
I think the younger founders today are definitely smarter, brighter, and gutsier, for sure. They're gutsier, big punts. I don't think, so I started in year 2000, and maybe it was the ecosystem, maybe it was the availability or the abundance of capital, maybe it was the reward and the prize that you put on super and hyper growth. And at least in tech, it was all about growth. But just how crazy that growth is going to be, I don't think the size of the prize was ever that big. To give you an idea, we IPO'd in 2010 on NASDAQ, and our IPO size raise was $70 million, which is a joke today. It's probably Series B or C right now, with a green shoe of 10 million. So it was 80.5 million. That's it. And so today, of course, you have to multiply that by a factor of 10 or 20. But yeah, much smarter and savvier, I think. Like I said earlier, youngsters today probably have shorter attention spans, and also, so I think, patience and ability also to, let's say, try to mold someone who's probably an uncut gem but needs work on. I'm not sure everyone's ready to put in the yards and, to try to work and to actually polish that and get that diamond out. So I think that might have gone because people are so restless today and moving so fast.
Deep, is there a common myth or misconception about leadership that you would love to clarify?
More about leaders, I think people tend to think, or that's the myth, where leaders are perfect. And I don't think that's true. I don't know about if leaders are born leaders or they, become leaders, etc. That's a debatable one. But I don't think there's that perfection thing, or, they're going to make all the decisions, they're infallible, they'll never make mistakes. All of that is not true at all. I haven't seen that. And again, this, links back to my earlier point on being comfortable with your vulnerabilities or with places which you're not perfect at. And I think that's great leadership too. I don't think there's anything wrong. And I've worked with some fantastic leaders in the past who I think were very open about that. And so play to your strengths and build your core team around you to actually fill in those gaps and to make the overall leadership great. It's not about one person. This is not, definitely not, Davis Cup in tennis. I always say that one phenomenal player can win you the Davis Cup because he'll win you the singles, he'll win you the reverse singles, and he probably will power you through in the doubles. That's one person in a team of potentially could have been, 4 people, but let's say in that case, it's obviously 3 people in that team. This is football. And till your team is not playing in complete harmony and unison, and everyone's not playing that part, even that uncelebrated, boring defender who's just always doing the right thing to make sure he's blocking and it doesn't look sexy or glamorous, but is playing such a vital role to not let a goal be scored and not let your goal be exposed. This is football. So you want to actually create a team which is infallible, It's not about one great leader. So I think that's very important.
Deep, from stiff competition around discount wars, you turned Ashish Kashyap, the founder of IIMBO, into your ally. What did this teach you about negotiations and winning people over?
Yeah, I think our hand was clearly forced by Naspers. So 𝐻𝐼MBO was actually 100% owned by Naspers, and Ashish was their kind of CEO for that. I think after a series of kind of mini battles and discounting wars, etc., it's only when we realized that their tech stack is also quite interesting. They're not just a discount shop. I think we realized there's a limit on how much we can burn. Also, let's not forget, we were public and they were private at that time, seeming like they had endless pools of capital. They obviously played a good game. But I think net what happened was that we managed to get not just the company 𝐻𝐼MBO, we also got Redbus, which has turned out to be a real jewel, and some great tech talent, and the enterprise software for hotels, etc. So I think that really helped us, but was a very hard integration. A couple of years, I think, where both Rajesh and I really rolled up our sleeves and said, this is our job. Let this not be another typical, acquisition where it works great on Excel, looks great on PowerPoints, and then after a while you look back and you say, so what did you really acquire then? And the people are all gone, etc. So I think we worked very hard to make that happen. Otherwise, and that's my biggest learning, M&A will not work till top down you are obsessed about saying, this is my KRA to make this work. You can't delegate that down. And that's been a big learning. And we've had other kind of acquisitions which haven't worked out, thankfully much smaller. And very often those were delegated down.
The two things you value or relate most about the MakeMyTrip culture, and two things that you'd want to infuse more of in the MMT culture.
First one's easy. I think it's the spirit of ownership. And we must have done something right, because come COVID, without asking for it, we had a very large number of senior managers who actually said, we're going to take a cut in salary. And they took a cut in salary, which doesn't happen at this stage. I'm talking about 10 years after being a listed company in 2020. And they took a cut in salary, which was maybe notional, maybe not, 10%. They didn't expect to get it back. When things got better and we came back strong, we actually managed to give it back. But they saw the pain all around. They saw the fact that we reported a quarter which was 96% down on revenues. This was our national lockdown quarter. There was no travel happening. And so I think it was amazing. For Rajesh and me, it was such an amazing moment where we said, wow, we've obviously done something right to build this kind of culture. So there's a lot of ownership out here. And then, of course, if 50% are doing it, the others really don't have a choice but to do it. But even new people said, we'll do this. So that was awesome. What we could do more of, okay, I don't want this to sound pompous. I have to say something. Diversity. I really think we can do more with diversity at the top. We have not done. That's one of the black spots on our HR side. We have great diversity across the organization, but at the top level and real top level, like leadership team level, I don't think we've done well enough.
What is your version of power as a leader?
I don't think we use that word here. I don't actually recall, I never use that word. And I don't think that's not the way, we work here. We work with and for and, along with someone. We have a 1-week-long program called Immersion for all new joiners. So we typically do it at one particular week, and whoever's joined in the last month comes in, and there'll be 40, 50 people in the room. Some will be flown in from Bangalore, etc. And all leadership meets with them, and I love spending that hour or so with them. And I actually have worked on that program to put it together, because it got whittled down to like a couple of days, and I said, that's not fair, because this is a very unique time when new people are coming in. They actually are bringing the best of the outside-in perspective. They're all our customers, or should have been our customers. And this is the time, whenever you join a new company, you're like, want to figure out what is the DNA of this company. And at least the curious person wants to know, like, what is this all about? I've heard from the outside, how is this different? And one of the key things I tell people here is, you're here because we really value what you bring to the table. Your ideas and people who are closer to the market are probably much better than even my ideas, because like it or not, I get further and further away from the market till customer complaints come up to me, or I go to a customer lab, etc. So don't stop bringing them up. And for us, it's the quality of the idea and the quality of the thought, never ever who it comes from. and we reiterate that. And why I reiterate that is not for the youngster, it's for the manager. So the manager's got to hear that listen, don't suppress those. Those ideas are why, we stay agile, why we stay, this nimble company, which we have to be. So we have to be a 24-year-old startup today. Otherwise, someone's going to, gobble us up and we're going to get a curveball, which is going to come and knock us out. So I think we have to think that, so therefore power is just it's a bad word.
Two things that you keep doing to make sure that MMT stays ahead of the competition, Deep.
Well, I was always in Andy Grove's camp, which is only the paranoid survive. So I am definitely the one who is basically always the harbinger of, oh my God, this is happening, we are doing nothing. I mean, till 6 months ago or 1 year ago, I was saying that about AI. I'd like to say we are doing a lot. We actually are, funnily enough, had a long workshop on AI right today. We're one of the early partners with Microsoft, and we're seeing that in our own apps right now. We have our chatbots, which are doing much more than they could on language, on vernacular. And so I think we're doing a fair deal, but we're still not an AI first company. And so for me, we've got to treat AI like the mobile phone. And when apps came, where we have to be not mobile first, maybe mobile only. So all development should be moving here, because this is going to change everything, I truly believe. The second is, I think, just don't stop on the relentless hiring of top quality. I think that it's not like you can never say, we're all set. The moment you think you're all set is actually the beginning of something's always moving, there are moving parts. So I'm a big believer, if you find fantastic talent out there and you don't have a role, bring it on. Bring it on and create the role, because getting fantastic talent is the toughest thing. Especially for companies like us, we're no longer that young today. The best talent in tech is either setting up their own companies, either as founder, co-founder, whatever, or early days, or is going after, hey, today I'm going for a Series B company, so that I've de-risked myself. It's not in the super risky, but I'll find something. And I don't fault them. So how do we get that talent? How do we bring them here?
Deep, who in Business India is inspiring you right now and why?
Well, you've met with Ashish Dhawan, and he's not really in business, but he is someone who's very inspirational to me. In fact, he's 1/3 the reason I joined Ashoka early days as a co-founder. And the other 1/3 is Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who's always been like a big friend, philosopher, guide to me. But Ashish, I love the way he's changed his career part. And the other 1/3 was the cause, which was education. Yeah, I love the way Ashish was so clear. He wanted to do it at 40. Finally, I think mid-40s, he managed to, at the top of his game, quit. And the kind of focus and energy that he has brought to his second innings is just unbelievable. It's unparalleled. So I think he's going to be one of the biggest change agents of our time. And I work with him very closely at Ashoka, so I see him. But then he has 13 other foundations. I'm involved with a couple of them, and I just see the passion he brings, and it's amazing. So I think he's someone special.
If you were in my seat and had an option to interview somebody, who would you want it to be and what would you want to ask them?
From the old brigade, I think it would probably be Nandan. Nandan's the other incredible guy. I hope you get to interview him. I think Nandan Nilekani has obviously been there, done that. He's the OG. So not just Infosys, which is obviously, I was a big fan of Infosys and continue to be actually. But then his second and tertiary careers, his dabbling with politics, policy, his giving us, working so hard and giving us, what today is our backbone of our really financial stack, and envisaging that. And I worked with him in a little way in those early days, and I just saw his zeal and his clarity of thought to build that. And then his whole social where he's giving back in such a massive and a structured manner. So yeah, I think it probably be Nandan comes to mind.
And what would you ask him?
Yeah, I think I'd take all your questions and I'd just ask Nandan the same questions. Don't reinvent the wheel. No, I'm enjoying this. So I would really like to understand from him what was going on in his mind when they set up Infosys, how it moved from becoming what was their turning point? How did they make it this great company? And at what point did he say, okay, done with this, I'm happy to be, chairman or board role or whatever, but I really want to pivot and do something, more impactful or more meaningful maybe, or more lasting. And yeah, so I would love to ask him a lot of those questions.
Your quick fire with Qunba starts now. A leader must always dash.
Inspire.
A leader should never dash.
Lie.
Your most aha moment of your career is dash.
Our website going live for the first time.
When in doubt, Deep Kalra dash.
Introspects.
Your one-line message to people who are worried about AI.
Justified.
One thing you wish people knew more about MakeMyTrip.
Culture.
2 decades from today, MakeMyTrip will be dash.
World leading OTA.
A secret vice no one knows about you.
Lazy in the morning.
Morning person or night owl?
Night up.
First thing you do in the morning, last thing you do at night.
Sadly check the phone.
Besides his family, Deep's most prized possession is
Friends.
one thing in your job that you would want to get better at.
Patience.
Swimming lessons with Michael Phelps or a baddie match against Glenn Fogel of Booking.com.
Swimming lessons with Michael Phelps. Oh, dream. It'll be a dream come true.
Last minute travel planner or detailed trip planning.
Somewhere in between, actually.
Your favorite workday time waster.
I think, I don't know how to say it in one word, but newsletters, email newsletters. I just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
One thing that's been on your personal to-do list for the longest time.
Personal taxation, sort my personal finances.
Your favorite binge watch till date.
The Office.
Your favorite movie or show character when we say the word leadership.
Godfather.
The soundtrack to your life is
I did it my way.
one startup platform that's caught your eye or you really admire.
WhatsApp.
Your favorite celebrity on social media.
Gul Panag.
An educator or business leader you wish you had as your teacher.
I think it would be Steve Jobs.
70-hour work week.
Required in your early stages. Imperative for success.
Your favorite remote working destination.
Maldives.
The one moment from your life you'd love to relive.
Yes, falling in love first time.
If you were a public figure, what would you be most famous for?
Sustainable travel.
What are you most grateful for in your life is dash.
Everything.
One founder you'd love to be a co-founder with today.
Bill Gates.
3 of Deep Kalra's most used apps on his phone.
WhatsApp, number 1. Number 2 nowadays is Jio for IPL. And number 3 is OneFootball for football. Yeah.
Craziest travel complaint or the funniest travel complaint you ever received?
The beds were too springy.
Final one, if you had a gigantic billboard out there, what is the message you would like to finally put out to millions and why?
I think why we should travel responsibly.
Deep, thank you very, very much for doing this.
So I had not heard about Qunba till a month ago. And I must say that I've been really impressed with my first physical interaction with Qunba. Incredible questions, very well asked, very professional. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've already done out there. I think you guys are building a really special platform, very well thought through. And I love the long-term vision that you have. You are building Qunba like the startup, which I actually tell a lot of younger startup people to do, which is, keep 4-5 years as your time frame. Nothing great gets built before that. So all the best to you guys.
Quick 30 questions, here we go. Just one word answer question.